Hello, everybody, and welcome into another countdown video here at the Hockey Writers YouTube channel for the 2024 NHL Draft. And we are on to defensemen. And in a draft that's very defense heavy, these 10 blue liners will probably be drafted either in the first round or early in the second. And a lot of them are going to be drafted in the top 10. So we've got quite a few to go through. And we'll start with Henry Muse of the Ottawa 67s. And, you know, for most defensemen, it's going to be great skaters. And Henry Muse is one of the best skaters in this draft class, even though he probably won't be drafted in the top 20, but one of the best skaters, great acceleration, great speed in every direction. And in the NHL this time with the modern day NHL, you need to be able to skate as a defenseman. And he's going to be one of the better ones he's one of the better ones in this draft. And once he gets to the NHL, he's probably one of the best skaters in the NHL and could end up being a top pairing defenseman. And, but of course, needs some time to develop and definitely going to be an exciting guy to watch in the NHL as we keep going. All right, Jacob, number 9, Cole Hudson, Lane Hudson's brother. And probably won't be as high end as him once he gets to the NHL, but definitely still a really good defenseman.
Yeah, Cole Hudson has a lot of the same skills that Lane has. Obviously, both fairly undersized offensive defensemen, both fantastic skaters, and Cole has all those great attributes as well. He's not as flashy as Lane isn't as flashy as Cole. I think Cole has a bit of a higher offensive upside, which is saying something because of how highly regarded people hold Lane Hudson, prospect of the Montreal Canadiens. So I do wonder if Montreal looks to kind of rejoin the brothers. That would be awesome to
Yeah.
see. But yeah, he has a really good shot from the point too. He makes a lot of really smart plays at the blue line. He's really smart in transition, and especially with his speed, like he uses that to his advantage. He's not just one of those. You see some players that skate really fast and just don't know what to do with themselves, but he uses his speed to his advantage every time he has the puck on his stick.
Yeah, I love Cole Hudson. I mean, I've loved him since probably last year when we were talking about early guys we're gonna like in this draft. And I liked Lane Hudson, I like Cole, and they're both are gonna be really good NHL defensemen. Cole had kind of dropped off offensively throughout the year, but still ended up with really good numbers at the end of it all, and had a really good under 18s. I think that boosted his stock up again and he's going to end up being really good, even though, again, that undersized thing, still going to be a good defenseman. All right, number 8, Aaron Kiviharu, and this is a guy that was talked about being in the top 10 at one point. Now has kind of dropped into that, potentially even dropping into that second round, which would be a steal in my mind. I but he probably will drop off because of an injury. That's the problem where he wasn't getting as many viewings, didn't progress as much as a lot of the other defensemen did, didn't get as many chances to shine. But he is still a very high end talent and great passer. Very good, could be a power play quarterback once he gets to the NHL. Again, undersized too. I mean, that's probably going to be a knock on him as well, but I think he's going to be a steal wherever he goes because he won't be going where he should talent wise. And Kiviharu still definitely deserves to be on this top 10 list, though, even at number 8. All right, number 7,
Yeah,
Adam Yurachek. Oh, you wanted to add something on that?
no, that's
Yeah.
you hit it all pretty well. I think Kivi Harry was going to be a pretty good offensive guy, and especially like you said on the power play, I think he's going to be a great option to kind of run the umbrella formation and just make a lot of smart plays. But yeah, at number 7 we have Adam Yurachek. He obviously brother of David Yurachek and similar to David Yurachek. And if you watched our top 10 centers video, similar to Constant Hellenius, he doesn't really shine in one kind of faucet of the game. He's just a really, really well-rounded guy. He will play physical hockey. He's not as aggressive as David Yurachek is. He's more of a passive guy and just make the smart play rather than jump up and pinch or go for the big open ice hit or anything like that. And that's why he's ranked lower than David Yurachek was in the draft. But he has good skating, excellent edge work. He can go kind of in all 4 ways pretty well. But yeah, he plays a really, really solid game. and he's going to be probably a middle pairing, kind of shutdown option defenseman. And I think that a team is going to be really happy to have him.
I mean, again, he was derailed by injury as well from the World Juniors and hadn't really played a lot. And again, the viewings you don't see as much of these guys, and then they drop off, and that's going to be unfortunate because I think again at first round he's going to be a first round pick, but I think he would have gone higher if he would have been able to play the rest of the season and not got hurt. So again, a steal for a playoff team is probably going to pick him, and that's gonna be pretty big for whoever gets him there. Right, number six, Carter Yakimchuk. This is a guy that's been pretty much rising throughout the season because of his offensive abilities. His defensive work and his decision making may be questionable at times, but his offensive abilities off the charts. And had a great season in the WHL with the Calgary Hitmen, and probably one of their best offensive defensemen, and great at creating different opportunities. He's got, he could be again lower on the because of that, defensive game that he still needs to develop. But again, in my mind, offense can't be taught. Defense can be. If you have that offensive ability and that awareness, I you take that over and you smooth out the defensive game. I had that same thought with Quinn Hughes. Everyone's worried about his, he's not very good defensively, but his offensive ability, skating, and his hockey IQ and all that other stuff that he's got. You can teach the defense, and look what's happened. He's learned it. He's one of the best defensemen in the NHL. And I think Yakimchuk, maybe not that high end, but he definitely has that ability to put up that 60, 70 points in his prime. So Yakimchuk, number six, going too far here. Number six. Number five, we're on to Anton Salv, one of the higher, maybe dropping off a bit, but he's still going to be drafted in the top 10.
Yeah, I feel like it was just 2 or 3 months ago that people were talking about Salayev as going second overall. It was either going to be him or Demidov. But he did drop a little bit, and I think part of that is his offensive production, which, I mean, you look at a guy who's 17 years old playing in the KHL, and obviously the biggest thing when you talk about Salayev has to be his size. You can't teach size. He's 6'7", and he uses it pretty well. He's really good defensively. He loves blocking shots. He loves playing physical. He has really good skating for somebody that's 6'7". There have been a lot of comparisons to Victor Hedman, which is a very fair comparison. Victor Hedman probably has a much higher offensive ceiling, but the play style and the kind of tool belt that they have are pretty similar. They're both just really good at doing a little bit of everything. Salayev obviously got off to a really hot start in the KHL with it was like 7 points in his first 11 games, and then he just fell off and hardly scored any more points. I think he only finished with 11 on the season. So his offense really dropped off, but his minutes didn't. Like, he was still playing really, really good hockey. He just wasn't getting any points anymore. He was still playing 20 minutes a night in the KHL as a 17-year-old.
I like Salayev still. I think his size is and the way he can skate at that height. He's still a lot of those guys struggle when they're 6'7", but he definitely doesn't. He does not skate like he's 6'7", and his offense may not translate to the NHL, but he's still going to be an excellent two-way defenseman. That maybe his ceiling may not be a really good offensively, but he might be one of the best. I call them the modern day defensive defensemen, where they can put up the points, but they're more known for being that good defensive presence that can complement a really good offensive defenseman. And I think Salayev could definitely be that for someone in the NHL. And we'll see. I mean, I could be wrong, and he could end up being a 60-point defenseman too, and which would be Zdeno Chara-esque. But we'll see. We'll see how Salayev kind of falls there. All right, number four, Sam Dickinson, arguably one of the more well-rounded defensemen coming out of this draft class, who could end up playing in the NHL sooner than later because of that. Very calm, two-way defenseman, great skater. I can move the puck pretty well. And the biggest thing is that he's got that two-way game down already, and he's probably one of the better defensive better defensively than most of the defensemen in this draft class. Like we talk about the offensive guys need to learn this. Dickinson doesn't need to. He's already has that, and he's very calm with the puck. He's very calm in his own zone. And like I said, I think he'll end up being in the NHL sooner because he already has that. And whoever's getting Dickinson is going to end up having a surefire top pairing defenseman. And yeah, that's more you can say about Dickinson. We've already said on multiple other shows, and he's the fourth on this list. All right, Zane Parekh, number three. I was a Saginaw Spirit. Jacob, what do you got?
Yeah, he's the best offensive option in this draft. If you want anything offensively, he has that skill. Whether you want it to be his skating in the transition, whether you want it to be his playmaking on the power play, or finding the open seam from the point, or a booming shot, he can do it all. Now he doesn't have the best shot, but he just adds a little bit of everything. He has all of the offensive skills that you would ever want out of a defenseman. Does he give up a little bit of the defensive game for his offense? Yes, that's. But like you've mentioned, Matthew, he you can teach that stuff. That's not something that just it either comes naturally or you don't have it at all. It's something that you can teach and you can learn and you can get a system that supports you. Like we saw with Quinn Hughes, I'm sure he didn't learn how to play defense over the summer,
No,
but Rick Tocchet came in and put in a system that really supports Quinn Hughes' game and lets the offense be the defense. Yes, he still plays good defensive hockey, but the best defense for Quinn Hughes is playing offense. So Parekh is going to be the same way. He's 100% going to be the best offensive defenseman out of the draft, and he's going to go very high. I don't see him going past Ottawa at 7.
no, Parekh is going to be end up being in the top 10 and could have be higher. And we'll see what other teams figure. But yeah, and he's right-handed, which is a big thing too. And that's rarity for these type of offensive defensemen. There's not a lot of those guys. I mean, in general, there's not a lot of right defense. There are a lot in this draft, though. So if you need a right defenseman, you can pick one up here. And Zane Parek's gonna be one of the best, I think, from this draft too. All right, number two, Zeev Buam. Again, he's been talked about as rising up to where the Ducks are in this draft, and that'd be a top five pick, and that could end up happening. And he is number two on this list, outstanding skater, one of the best skater, again, one of the better skaters in this draft class. Great puck handler, great, great compete level, work ethic, all that stuff, and again, very calm, very mature for his age. I was really impressed with him at the World Juniors. Being a draft eligible player, playing in that tournament, the under 20 already, and not just playing there, but being noticeable in the gold medal game. I was really impressed by him, and that was quite a few months ago. And he's just kept playing that same type of game up until that. And like I said, that's pretty big to be one of the USA's top players at the World Juniors. That usually comes a little later on. And I kind of was reminded by you know how it looked like with Beniers when he played at the World Juniors and he entered the NHL and pretty much was good right off the bat. I think Boom could definitely. I don't know about coming to the NHL right away as a defenseman, but yeah, he's going to go high and going to end up being a very good guy in the NHL one day. All right, over to you, Jake, for number one. Well, who
Yeah,
it's of
Artyom
course
Liv
Artem Levshunov.
yeah, like he's obviously going to be the first defenseman taken. He's in the running to go second overall to the Chicago Blackhawks. I think the conversation now is whether it's going to be Livshunov or Demidov. But if I'm Chicago, I'm leaning towards Livshunov. He's going to be a fantastic top pair defenseman. He's right-handed. That's something that you really want out of a defenseman. There's not many. And he just plays a really solid two-way game. He can play that offensive-minded game where whether it's the first pass he's making out of the defensive zone, whether it's going to be through the transition in his skating, or it's going to be in the offensive zone making plays. But he can also be a shutdown defenseman. Like he's one of those guys that you throw out there when the other team has the empty net and you need to block a couple shots. You need to get the puck out. You need somebody to hold it against the boards for 25 seconds to kill the clock. Like he does everything. He is we've used the term before, but a Swiss Army knife for defenseman, and he can adapt to any situation. So Lev Shunov is going to bring a lot of very talented play to whatever team drafts him.
I agree on the Chicago pick. I think they've got their generational talent up front in Bedard. They need one on the back end, and I think Lev Shunov could definitely be that. Top pairing defenseman, and again, right shot. I mean, this is something you don't get all the time. These elite guys, and I think getting Demidov. I mean, obviously, be a very good pick too, but I think Lev Shunov is someone they need more at this point of their rebuild. I think he would anchor the defense while Bedard anchors the offense. I think that's a good start here. And they've got some great prospects in the pipeline that can support Bedard at this point, and they're going to be adding more in this draft too. So I think Lev Shunov's I don't know if it's a better pick, but I think it's a more logical pick at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we talk about the right-handed defenseman, I mentioned this on the Senators Roundtable the other day, but there were only 52 right-handed defensemen to play 50 games in the NHL this season.
Yeah.
Now injuries happen and whatnot, and there's some players that were up and down and whatever, but only 50 players of the available 96 right-handed defenseman spots. People need right-handed
Yeah.
defensemen, and that is an asset.
It is. And that's the thing when you get a guy that could be a high end top pairing, could lead your defense for a decade. I think Lev Shunov's a good pick for Chicago at two, and we'll see if they pick that. And it's not just us here saying this. There are a lot of people saying that Lev Shunov could be their pick, and we'll see what actually happens when the draft comes. But there's a top 10 defenseman. Check out our top 10 centers is already out, and make sure to check out all of our other stuff on the draft guide with prospect profiles and other features that we've got coming out, and all of the other videos on the YouTube channel here in our 2024 NHL draft coverage playlist. So check that out. And until our next video, we'll see you next time.